We're getting right to it.
Pete Hegseth, it was a tie, bipartisan opposition, smallest margin since the job was created. You had to break that tie. If the nominee can't unite your party, how's he going to lead 3 million people?
Well, look, I think Pete is a disruptor, and a lot of people don't like that disruption, but Margaret, that disruption is incredibly necessary. If you think about all of those bipartisan massive votes, we have to ask ourselves, what did they get us? They got us a country where we fought many wars over the last 40 years, but haven't won a war about as long as I've been alive. They've got us a military with a major recruitment crisis, a procurement price crisis that's totally dysfunctional, where we buy airplanes for billions and billions of dollars, terrible cost overruns, the delivery dates are always delayed. So we need a big change. Now, admittedly, there are people who don't like that big change, but it is necessary, and it's explicitly what Donald J. Trump ran on, and I think part of the reason why the American people elected him their 47th president.
So the main objective is changing all of that, that it's going to be Pete Hegseth alone?
I'd say the main problem the main thing that we want Pete Hegseth to do is to fix the problems at the Department of Defense. And unfortunately, there are many. We've gotten into way too many wars that we don't have a plan for winning. We've gotten into way too many misadventures that we shouldn't have got into in the very first place. And our procurement process, Margaret, is incredibly broken. We're in an era.
Decisions.
Well, of course, they're policy decisions, but they're also logistical and implementation decisions. If you look at where we are with the rise of artificial intelligence, with the rise of drone technology and drone warfare, we have to really, top to bottom, change the way that we fund the procurement of weapons, the way that we arm our troops. This is a major period of disruption, and we think Pete Hegseth is the guy to lead the job. Now, there's another element to this, Margaret, too, which is we believe that military morale, at least until the election of President Trump, was historically low. You had the Army missing recruitment goals by tens of thousands of soldiers, and already recruitment is starting to pick up because Pete Hegseth is fundamentally a warfighter's leader at the Department of Defense. He is a guy who sees, not through the perspective of the generals or the bureaucrats, he looks at things through the perspective of the men and women that we send off to fight in our wars.
Both the Wall Street Journal and the National Review, conservative publications, as you know, have been critical of Tulsi Gabbard. The Review called her an atrocious nominee who deserves to be defeated. They compared her defense of Edward Snowden, the fugitive who stole U.S. secrets, to an attorney general who thinks the mob gets a bad rap. Her refusal to accept U.S. intelligence findings that Assad gassed his own people, they said, was like a nominee for OMB director not being able to count. Does any of this give you pause putting her in charge of the U.S. intelligence community? Yes or no?
No, Margaret, look, these are publications that attacked Donald J. Trump obsessively, but those publications don't determine who the president is, the American people do. And Donald J. Trump is the person who determines who his cabinet is, not these publications that I think, frankly, have lost relevance.
The Senate will ultimately decide.
Well, the Senate will provide advice and consent, as is its constitutional obligation, but I feel confident that Tulsi Gabbard will ultimately get through. Two things that are important to know about Tulsi. First of all, she is a career military servant who's had a classification at the highest levels for nearly 2 decades. She has impeccable character, impeccable record of service, and she also is a person who I think is going to bring some trust back to the intelligence services. The bureaucrats at our intelligence services have gotten completely out of control. They've been part of the weaponization of our political system, the weaponization of our justice system. We need to have good intelligence services who keep us safe. But part of that is restoring trust in those services, and we think Tulsi's the right person to do it. That's
she
why the
doesn't
president
trust those intelligence services.
She recognizes that the bureaucrats have gotten out of control, and we need somebody there who's going to rein them in and return those services to their core mission of identifying information that's going to keep us safe.
You campaigned on lowering prices for consumers. We've seen all of these executive orders. Which one lowers prices?
We have done a lot, and there have been a number of executive orders that have caused already jobs to start coming back into our country, which is a core part of lowering prices. More capital investment, more job creation in our economy is one of the things that's going to drive down prices for all consumers, but also raise wages so that people can afford to buy the things that they need. If you look at our slate of executive orders, no, Margaret, prices are going to come down, but it's going to take a little bit of time, right? The president has been president for all of 5 days. I think that in those 5 days, he's accomplished more than Joe Biden did in 4 years. It's been an incredible breakneck pace of activity. We're going to work with Congress. We're, of course, going to have more executive orders, and we're going to try the way that you lower prices is that you encourage more capital investment into our country. And you ask specifically, what executive order is going to help lower prices? All of the stuff that we've done on energy, to explore more energy reserves, to develop more energy resources in the United States of America. One of the main drivers of increased prices under the Biden administration is that we had a massive increase in the energy prices. Donald Trump has already taken multiple executive actions that are going to lower energy prices, and I do believe that means consumers are going to see lower prices at the pump and at the grocery store, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and while we've done a whole lot, we can't undo all of the damage of Joe Biden's presidency in 4 days.
Well, there are a lot of things that contributed to higher energy prices, and there was record oil and gas production.
Yes, Joe Biden did many terrible things to lead to an increase in prices. I agree, Margaret.
No, but all the things you experience at the grocery store are what people touch and feel. That's what you were talking about, bacon on the campaign trail.
Of course, of course.
Those things. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives?
Well, Margaret, how does bacon get to the grocery store? It comes on trucks that are fueled by diesel fuel. If the diesel is way too expensive, the bacon's going to become more expensive. How do we grow the bacon? Our farmers need energy to produce it. So if we lower energy prices, we are going to see lower prices for consumers, and that is what we're trying to fight for.
Well, the flurry of executive orders, most of them weren't about the economy. Many of them
were, though, Margaret. We had, I think we've taken
promise
over
of tariffs by February 1st.
We've taken over 200 executive actions, some executive orders, other executive actions. Again, this is in less than a week, and a lot of them were focused on the economy, bringing investment into our country and lowering energy prices. We've also focused on safety, restoring public safety, ending weaponization of the Department of Justice. We've done a lot. And I think the president is to be commended for actually coming in and doing something with this incredible mandate the American people gave him. He's not sitting in the Oval Office doing nothing. He's doing the American people's business, and I think they're going to see a lot of good effects from it.
Well, a lot of these announcements have yet to take effect.
Sure.
The president did say he wants to do something with an executive order in relation to federal emergency response. He said he may reform or eliminate FEMA. Instead of sending emergency responders, he may start to send a percentage of money to states to take care of themselves. But, you know, FEMA has specialized expertise that some of these states just don't have.
Oh,
lay
in their
down.
arsenal,
Margaret.
and states who are
Margaret.
income states, the Mississippi,
God, it's so fucking funny.
the Alabamas, be able to do this for themselves without federal help.
Incredible mandate the American people gave him.
Oh, it's
Say
so
he
hilarious.
wants to do something with an executive order in relation to federal emergency response. He said he may reform or eliminate FEMA. Instead of sending emergency responders, he may start to send a percentage of money to states to take care of themselves. But, you know, FEMA has specialized expertise that some of these states just don't have.
Margaret,
in their arsenal. And
I wish
how
that
will states who are lower income states, the Mississippis, the
Margaret,
Kentuckys,
Jesus
the
Christ.
Alabamas, be able to
You're
do this
saying
for
some
themselves
stupid
without
shit,
federal
Well,
Margaret.
the president, to be clear, is not saying we're going to leave anybody behind. He's saying that in the way that we administer these resources, some of which is coming from the federal level, some of which is coming from the state level, we've got to get the bureaucrats out of the way and get the aid to the people who need it most.
But these are
Let's
the
be
first
honest,
responders.
Margaret, you talk about the expertise from FEMA. FEMA in North Carolina, in California, in Florida with some of the hurricanes has often been a disaster. And it's not because we don't have good people at FEMA, it's because bureaucratic red tape and garbage prevents the rapid deployment of resources to the people who need it most.
But the states are now going to have to do this themselves?
The president is trying to encourage us to reform the way that we deliver emergency response in a way that gets resources to the people who need it.
So don't take him literally, is what you're saying?
We should take the president at his word that FEMA needs desperate reform, because it does. Margaret, when I went to North Carolina as VP-elect, but before we were sworn in, people would talk about how FEMA would get resources, food, medicine, water to a warehouse, but they would have no plan to get it from the warehouse to the people in the mountains who were literally starving and thirsting to death. We can do so much better, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we will.
But they work with the state and local officials.
They often
So
don't work
now
well
it's
enough. And again, that's
Going to
not
be on the
because
state
of
and local officials?
No, the FEMA management officials don't work well enough with state and local officials to get resources to the people who need it. We should expect, and this is, I think, one of the fundamental premises of President Trump's leadership, The American people should expect more of their government. When there's a terrible disaster, they should expect food, medicine, and water to get to the people who need it. When there's a terrible fire in California, the fire hydrants ought to actually turn on. I am sick of the American people having such low expectations for their government. They should demand more of us because this is the greatest country in the world, and that's what Donald Trump's leadership promises to bring back.
So still count on the federal government, but watch that space. Let me ask you about another area that you campaigned on quite a lot, and there was a flurry of activity on, and that has to do with immigration.
Sure.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
Well, let me address this. Of course, if you have a person who is convicted of a violent crime, whether they're an illegal immigrant or a non-illegal immigrant, you have to go and get that person to protect the public safety. That's not unique to immigration. But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that, and I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk
support them
about
going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley
churches.
who were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe. Let me ask this question,
But
Margaret. Let's separate the immigration issue. If you had a violent murderer in a school, of course I want law enforcement to go and get that person out.
Of course.
So what's the point of the question?
You changed the regulation this week. That's the point of the question.
Exactly.
Giving the authority
Yes.
to go into churches and go
Exactly.
into schools.
We empowered law enforcement to enforce
But
the
that
law
also
everywhere
has
to
a
protect
knock-on
Americans.
effect, a chilling effect, arguably, to people to not send their kids to school.
I desperately hope it has a chilling
In the
effect on
churches,
illegal
you think
immigrants
the
coming
U.S.
into our
Conference
country.
of Catholic Bishops are actively hiding criminals from
I think the U.S.
law enforcement?
Conference of Catholic Bishops has frankly not been a good partner in common sense immigration enforcement that the American people voted for. And I hope, again, as a devout Catholic, that they'll do better.
There are 5 legal challenges already to one of the other immigration actions, the order on birthright citizenship. A federal judge appointed by Ronald Reagan, I think you'd agree, has some conservative credentials,
Sure.
paused the order to end birthright citizenship, calling it blatantly unconstitutional. How do you reconcile this challenge to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution?
So I obviously disagree with that judge, and these things, some of them will be litigated. That's the nature of our constitutional system. But here's the basic idea of President Trump's view on this. If you are a lawful permanent resident or a legal immigrant who plans to stay, your children, of course, should become American citizens. But let's say you're the child of an ambassador. You don't become...
But that's not part of it.
Well, that
There's
is
already a
that is
carve-out
that is
having
an
to do with
important
kids of
principle.
diplomats.
But we're saying that that carve-out should apply to anybody who doesn't plan to stay here. If you come here on vacation and you have a baby in an American hospital, that baby doesn't become an American citizen. If you're an illegal alien and you come here temporarily, hopefully, your child does not become an American citizen by virtue of just having been born on American soil. It's a very basic principle in American immigration law that if you want to become an American citizen and you've done it the right way, and the American people in their collective wisdom have welcomed you into our national community, then you become a citizen. But temporary residents, people who come in here, whether legally or illegally, and don't plan to stay, their children shouldn't become American citizens. I don't know any country that does that or why we would be different.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country
This is a
founded
unique
by...
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers, but just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years
Margaret.
later that we have to have the dumbest
Lord.
immigration policy in the world. No country says that temporary visitors, their children, will be
Margaret, we're
given
done with it.
complete access to the benefits and blessings of American citizenship. America should actually look out for the interests of our citizens first, and that means, again, if you're here permanently and lawfully, your kid becomes an American citizen. If you're not here permanently, if you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and don't plan to be, why would we make those people's children American citizens permanently?
I want to ask you about refugee admissions, which were just suspended by the president. That has nothing to do with the U.S. border. Refugee screening takes 18 to 24 months to go through. They are heavily vetted. Left literally at the airport this week were thousands of Afghans, some of whom had worked with the United States government and were promised to come here. When you talked to us in August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
No, but there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people
it's
are
not
vetted.
good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
2 weeks ago, you were on Fox News, and you said, if you protested peacefully on January 6th and had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned.
Oh my God!
Did you counsel the president against these blanket pardons for 1,500
Who gives a
people,
fuck?
Well, Margaret, I noticed
including those who committed violence?
Margaret, I noticed that you cut off the thing that I said immediately after that. The full quote is that, of course, there are gray areas. And here's the nature of the gray area. Merrick Garland's Department of Justice denied constitutional protections in the prosecutions. There were double standards in how sentences were applied to the J6 protesters versus other groups. What the president said consistently on the campaign is that he was going to look at a case-by-case basis.
This is blanket.
And that's exactly what we did. We looked at 1,600 cases, and the thing that came out of it, Margaret, is that there was a massive denial of due process of liberty, and a lot of people were denied their constitutional rights. The president believes that. I believe that, and I think he made the right decision.
Daniel Rodriguez used an electroshock weapon against a policeman who was dragged out of the defensive line by plunging it into the officer's neck. He was imprisoned, sentenced to 12 years, 7 months. He got a pardon. Ronald Maccabee hit a cop while wearing reinforced brass knuckle gloves, and he held one down on the ground as other rioters assailed the officer for over 20 seconds, causing a concussion. If you stand with law enforcement, how can you call these people unjustly imprisoned?
Margaret, you're separating, there's an important issue here. There's what the people actually did on January the 6th, and we're not saying that everybody did everything perfectly. And then what did Merrick Garland's Department of Justice do in unjustly prosecuting well over 1,000 Americans in a way that was politically motivated?
Is violence like that against a police officer ever justified?
Violence against a police officer is not justified, but that doesn't mean that you should have Merrick Garland's weaponized Department of Justice expose you to incredibly unfair process, to denial of constitutional rights, and frankly, to a double standard that was not applied to many people, including, of course, the Black Lives Matter rioters who killed over 24 people and never had the weight of a weaponized Department of Justice come against them. The pardon power is not just for people who are angels or people who are perfect. And of course, we love our law enforcement and want people to be peaceful with everybody, but especially with our good cops. That's a separate issue from what Merrick Garland's Department of Justice did. We rectified a wrong, and I stand by it.
I'm being told we're out of time, but I want to quickly ask you, the richest men in the world were at that Capitol on Inauguration Day, heads of Amazon, Google, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. In August, you told us Google and Facebook are too big. We ought to take the Teddy Roosevelt approach, break them up. Don't let them control what people are allowed to say. They've now donated to the Trump inauguration. Are you still going to break up big tech?
So, you know who else was at the inauguration was my mom, and a lot of people who just supported the president and fought every single day to get his election. And
They
to make
gave
it, and to
$1
make
million
it, and to make it
each
possible.
to the
And
inauguration.
there were a lot of people who didn't give $1 million to the inauguration.
pretty good seating.
Who were on that stage, Margaret. They didn't have as good a seating as my mom and a lot of other people who were there to support us. But look, we believe fundamentally that big tech does have too much power, and there are two ways they can go about this. They can either respect Americans' constitutional rights, they can stop engaging in censorship, and if they don't, you can be absolutely sure that Donald Trump's leadership is not going to look too kindly on them.
So they're still on notice.
They're very much on notice.
They're on fucking notice. Come on, Margaret. She was like, FEMA has special expertise that other people just don't have. You know, these bumblefucks in these states don't have the expertise of FEMA. FEMA's always sucked. My whole life they've been failing, so what the fuck? Did you see that Trump pumped the president of Colombia? What's I need the latest report. This is old. They was crying all day. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh, the coffee and the flowers are gonna go up. Oh, and by the end of the day, it was over, and they look retarded.
President Trump's whirlwind first week is ending with another bang. Earlier today, the president announced he's slapping a 25% tariff on all imports from Colombia. That includes crude oil, coffee, bananas, and cut flowers. The move is in retaliation for Colombia's decision to rescind permission for 2 U.S. Air Force deportation flights to land. President Trump now says Colombia's actions threaten U.S. national security. Today, Border Czar Tom Homan joined ICE and DEA agents in Chicago, where officials say they conducted targeted operations. The U.S. military flew several deportation flights this week, with troops and Border Patrol agents escorting shackled migrants onto massive C-17 cargo planes. And more troops continue to arrive at the southern border. An additional 1,500 active duty personnel have been deployed. All of this comes as the Trump cabinet takes shape, with several of his picks facing potentially contentious hearings this week. ABC senior White House correspondent Selena Wang leads us off.
Tonight, President Donald Trump retaliating against Colombian President Gustavo Petro with a blitz of tariffs and sanctions after he says the country refused to accept 2 U.S. military planes carrying recently deported migrants. Trump announcing the U.S. will impose 25% tariffs on all Colombian imports, threatening to raise them to 50% in a week. A move that could raise consumer costs for the billions of dollars worth of goods that the U.S. imports from Colombia each year, including crude oil, coffee, and bananas. Trump also imposing travel bans and visa restrictions on Colombian government officials and their supporters, vowing these measures are just the beginning. President Petro responding on social media saying Colombia will impose reciprocal 50% tariffs on U.S. goods, telling Trump, "I resist you." The international dispute capping a whirlwind first week in office for Trump that featured a torrent of executive orders and presidential proclamations.
I took nearly 350 executive actions to reverse the horrible failures and betrayals that we inherited.
Many of them aimed at dramatically reshaping America.
Our message could not be more clear. America's decline is over.
Overnight, 7 Democrats joining Republicans in the Senate to confirm Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary, putting the former South Dakota governor in charge of the department at the center of Trump's immigration crackdown.
The vice president votes in the affirmative, and the nomination is confirmed.
And in a dramatic moment on the Senate floor, Vice President J.D. Vance casting the deciding vote to confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for breaking the tie.
3 Republican senators voting against Trump's controversial choice to run the Pentagon. The military veteran and former Fox News host fending off allegations of sexual misconduct, financial mismanagement, and alcohol abuse, allegations that he's denied. This as Democratic lawmakers and even some Republicans are blasting Trump for purging independent government watchdogs on Friday night. Sources tell ABC News that Trump fired at least 17 inspectors general, officials tasked with rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse across the government.
This is a chilling purge.
And Lindsay, next week will be a crucial test for Donald Trump's other cabinet nominees. The Senate will hold confirmation hearings for Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence, RFK Jr. to lead Health and Human Services, and Kash Patel for FBI Director. Now, they all face an uphill battle, which is why next week will be make or break. Lindsay? We'll be watching. Selena, thank you.
Oh, the horror. It's already over with, by the way. That guy caved. That guy's done with his little trade war. It's over. He gave in to Trump. He realized it was a bad idea. And he said, okay, I'll do what you say. And that's the end of that. They ain't even got time to update the little news reports. They're all in bed. They went to bed thinking, oh, yeah, Trump's getting owned by Colombia. Good grief. That's all that happened today. Trump was out golfing, slapping that guy around all day. That guy made some big ass tweet about how he ain't taking no shit. He's gonna stand against Trump. I ain't no punk motherfucker. And then he just caved. I swear to God, he typed an essay. He typed a big ass essay. He said, I put a 50% tariff on you. Oh no. Oh no. How about we just don't get bananas anymore, motherfucker? How about that? How about we just, that's what I want Trump to do. I want him to say, hey, how about we're not going to have any of that shit. We don't want your coffee. Go fuck yourself. We're not going to buy any of it. Fuck you. And he's like, what? Yeah, fuck you. I'm not doing any trade with you no more. Fuck you. Sit over there and rot. We don't give a fuck. What about our flowers? Oh, the flowers. As if motherfuckers in America can't grow some damn flowers. Good God. Yeah, they said I love how when we put tariffs on Colombia, they're like, "Oh, that just hurts us. That's just gonna make the flowers and the coffee cost more." But then when Colombia puts tariffs on us, they gloat about it. They say, "Oh yeah, look at that! Colombia's getting back at it." Well, isn't Colombia hurting its own people? That's how you know that they don't know nothing about the tariffs and they're just talking out of their ass. They're just regurgitating what the TV said. That's all it is. Eventually they'll catch on that these people are just fucking liars. And they're just lying to you, telling you this shit. And until you really see it for yourself, put into practice, you're not gonna really know. Because these people are just liars. These motherfuckers don't want these tariffs on them. And Trump might keep the tariff on them anyway. He might say, yeah, you're gonna have to I'm gonna keep it on for a little bit. I'm gonna keep that 25% on. You shouldn't have ran your mouth. All this because he was sending their citizens back to like, it's insane. That lets you know those people are criminals. He's like, hey, take these criminals back. They're like, what the fuck? No, no, we ain't taking them back. You're taking them back. You're taking these fucking lunatics back. Who's gonna be the next motherfucker to step up, talk some shit? Who's next? I mean, notice Gavin Newsom was like groveling to him and shit. Those nerds at that round table got slapped around. They're all done. Their political careers are over. They let the town burn. Let the town burn. I don't even know who's in the Super Bowl. I don't watch that shit. Who gives a fuck? Too much other shit going on. Or about some faggot ass football.
One of the very first appointments Donald
These
Trump made
motherfuckers are
after
going
winning
home.
the election in November was tapping one man to be what he calls his border czar. Tom Homan is a former Border Patrol agent and acting director of ICE with decades of experience in Republican and Democratic administrations. I sat down with him this week and began our conversation by asking him about the role of the U.S. military.
We got military on the border, not only helping us with departure flights on military planes, but they're helping to build infrastructure. They're putting up Constantino wire. They're down there to create a secure border and lock that border down. And DOD's helped administrations before, but not at this level. So it's a force multiplier, and it's sending a strong signal to the world. Our border's closed.
So is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes, but you can see the number steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide as we open up the aperture. Right now it's concentrating public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population. So we're going to do this on priority base, as President Trump's promised, but as that aperture opens, there'll be more arrests nationwide.
When you talk about the aperture opening, the estimates of perhaps those who have been convicted or arrested in the past, 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do that,
Your nanny's going back. Your maid's going. That's what this is really about. Your maid's going back. You're gonna have to pay somebody a decent living fucking wage. All of this is so fucking funny because these are the people that talk about the living wage and how they will got to pay people a living wage. They love this cheap labor. They're full mask off about it. They're talking about, oh, the price of the fruit's gonna go up, the vegetables. Who gives a fuck? They're going home, bitch. They're going home. You ain't gave a fuck about prices going up this whole time. Don't start talking about it now. They're going home.
then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table. Because it's not
You're
okay
on the
to
table.
violate laws of this country.
Get
You gotta
over
remember,
it.
every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, United States Code 1325. It's a crime.
You broke the
So
fucking
if you're in
law.
the country illegally, you got a problem. And that's why I'm hoping those who are in the country illegally who have not been ordered removed by the federal judge should leave.
While you are emphasizing that you go after national security threats, you have said no one's off the table. If you're in the country illegally, you better be looking over your shoulder. You should be afraid and start packing now. Is that what you're doing to get hotel workers out or people in working on farms, that they'll be so scared?
Yes, get them out of here.
Look, I think if you're in the country illegally, it's not okay. It's not okay to violate laws of this country. We have millions of people standing in line, taking the test, doing their background investigation, paying the fees that want to come in the right way.
Let's talk about the arrests so far. Numbers released the first day were over 500, and there were reports that one was a suspected terrorist, others were gang members. Were all of the people who were arrested on day one, as far as you know, convicted criminals or those who had been arrested before?
No. And let me explain that. There are collateral arrests. Where do collateral arrests happen? Sanctuary cities. And this is important we understand that. Sanctuary cities lock us out of the jails. So instead of ICE being able to arrest the bad guy, the criminal alien, in the safety and security of a jail where the officer's safe, the alien's safe, and the public's safe, sanctuary cities release them back in the community, which endangers the community, putting the criminal alien back in the community. But when we find him, he's going to be with others, most likely. Many times they're with others. If they're in the country illegally, they're coming too.
But were these arrests all in sanctuary cities? It doesn't appear so on the first day.
The collaterals, many more. I don't have the exact breakdown. But again,
so the arrests in Massachusetts, in Chelsea,
I've seen
Massachusetts,
Stephen A., but I didn't watch
which the governor said it's great to arrest the criminals who have
regret voting for
convicted. But were there people taken there as well who were not convicted? Were
sure
they, as you
if
say,
Kamala won, it'd be
I'm
business
sure
as usual.
You talk about these numbers
be acting a fool.
expanding. 500 the first day. What do you think you can get up to?
As many as we can get.
What can happen at this point, given your manpower?
Look, I think we're in the beginning stages. We're bringing more resources into this operation. As a whole of government, we're going to have DOJ assisting us. And like the DOD piece, helping build infrastructure, helping the transportation, that takes ICE, badges and guns, out of those duties and puts them on the street.
I want to go back to who you're deporting. Aside from the long list of executive actions, the administration said it will no longer tell ICE agents they have to avoid sensitive locations, including schools, hospitals, churches. Benjamin Huffman, the acting Homeland Security Secretary, said in a statement, criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. What criminals are hiding in schools?
Look,
middle schools, elementary schools. You going to go into those?
How many MS-13 members are the age 14 to 17? Many of them. So, look, if it's a national security threat, public safety threat, and what you need to understand is a case by case. Name another agency, another law enforcement agency that has those type of requirements that they can't walk into a school or a doctor's office or on a medical campus. No other agencies have those standards. These are well-trained officers with a lot of discretion, and when it comes to the sensitive location, there's still going to be supervisory review. So it's not like it's an open issue, but ICE officers should have discretion to decide if a national security threat or a public safety threat is in one of these facilities, then there should be an option for them to make the arrest.
But someday you could go into those schools and grab people who are just in the country illegally.
On a case-by-case basis, depending who they are, what the circumstances are. It's never a zero game.
You know that this creates fear in the immigrant community. The chair of the U.S. Conference of Bishops Committee said turning places of care, healing, and solace into places of fear and uncertainty for those in need while endangering the trust between pastors, providers, educators, and the people they serve will not make our communities safer.
Well, look, here's I think, if Congress has a job to do. We're enforcing the laws Congress enacted and the president signed. If they don't like it, change the law. I find it hard to believe any member of Congress is telling us not to enforce the law that they enacted and they fund us to do.
But opening up to anyone who's in the country illegally and going into schools and grabbing them, does that, kids, adults?
The message needs to be clear. There's consequences for entering the country illegally. If we don't show there's consequences, you're never going to fix the border problem.
Estimates are that there are 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country right now. How can you possibly afford to deport all of those people?
Well, I'll leave it up to Congress. You know, I think Congress, the president has a mandate. This is the number one issue that people voted on. I think Congress has a mandate to give us money we need. What price do you put on national security?
More detention centers?
What price do you put on? What price you put on all these young ladies that have been raped and murdered and burned alive? What price you put on that? What price do you put on Laken Riley's life? What price you put on national security? Like I just explained, when you have a surge like this, we don't secure that border. That's when national security threats enter the country. That's when sex trafficking goes up. That's when the fentanyl comes in that kills 250,000 Americans. I don't put a price in that.
And on those detention centers, do you need more beds? I think there's
Absolutely.
41,000 now, 100,000. So where do you get those beds? Do you build more camps? Do you do this military installations in Texas and elsewhere?
Camps.
A little bit of everything. We can build site facilities. We can expand our contracts to outside contractors. So yeah, we're going to need more ICE beds. A minimum of 100,000. Congress needs to come to the table quick and give us the money we need to secure that border.
Let's talk about those flights again. With the host countries, you flew all of those people back. Were all of the people arrested on the first day, for instance, repatriated? And what about those countries that won't take them back?
Oh, they'll take them back.
What do you mean by that?
We got President Trump coming to power. President Trump puts America first. Mexico didn't want to remain a Mexico program. Under the first administration, they did it. They didn't want to put military in the southern border. They did it.
How do you convince them?
El Salvador didn't want to take MS-13 members back. It took President Trump 48 hours to make that happen. President Trump's going to put America first. And if it doesn't, then we'll place my third safe country.
All appointments to the CBP app have been canceled. That is a legal way to claim asylum and get in the country. So what should people do who are seeking asylum? How do you do it?
Go to the embassy, go to port of entry.
They get to go back to El Salvador and get put in that big ass football field
and the first thing
prison we saw.
So tell me what the
Stuffed in
definition
a
of
cage.
success is over the next 6 months, over the next year, by the end of the administration. What is mission accomplished here?
Taking as many public safety threats off the street as possible. Watching illegal alien crimes in the United States decrease. Ending it. Deporting every illegal alien gang member in this country, including Awa and MS-13. Making our country safe. When we see the crime rate from illegal aliens go down, that's a success. Every public safety threat we remove from this country is a success. Every national security threat that we find removed from the country is a success. There's no number on it. So my success can be based on what Congress gives us. More money, the better we're going to do.
I noticed you didn't put in that list of things that will be mission accomplished and success, getting every immigrant who is in the country illegally out. Why not?
Because I'm being realistic. We can do what we can with the money we have. We're going to try to be efficient, but with more money we have, the more we can accomplish. If I don't have the money to remove that millions of people, then I'm not going to sit here and one thing, no one can say I haven't been frank in everything I've said. Our success every day is taking a public safety threat off the streets or getting a national security threat out of here.
And our thanks to Tom Homan.
What was she trying
What
to
is
say?
that looking like in real time? Let's discuss.
Deport every single one of them. That you won't be able to do that. Well, I mean, it's pretty expensive. But we're going to do our best. There's a lot of them. You've let a lot of them in. We're going to focus on rapists first. So, yeah. Are you going to go into a school and get a child out, take someone's child? Like, what? God.
With the White House.
This is older now. Think about the children. Think about the children. Dude, the fucking Colombian guy. Oh my God. I wish I had like audio of him because what he typed on Twitter was like he typed a novel on there. He was talking all kinds of shit. And then a few hours later, he's just like, well, I give up. Quit running that mouth. Guy's a fucking clown.
Immigration enforcement is in full effect, with mass deportations underway all across the country. Mexico and Guatemala have already received flights of migrants, while Colombia initially refused before their president reversed course. Trump had been threatening Colombia with tariffs over the refusal, but those look like they're no longer needed. And here in the United States, things are running smoothly. Border czar Tom Homan is leading the charge in Chicago as he oversees arrests in the
Oh, yeah,
mighty
you seen
city.
Dr.
Well, the
Phil out
DA of
there.
Los
You got
Angeles
Dr.
says
Phil
it
out
is
there fucking
cooperating.
catching the illegals. Like, what is going on? What is happening? Liberals are trying to cry about it, but nobody cares. See, he gave up. Look at it. Government of Colombia has agreed to all President Trump's terms, and he had to retweet it. The visa sanctions issued by the State Department and enhanced inspections from Customs and Border Protection will remain in effect until the first plane load of Colombian deportees is successfully returned. Today's events make clear to the world that America is respected again. President Trump will continue to fiercely protect our nation's sovereignty, and he expects all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of their citizens illegally present in the United States. Take your fucking people back. You're taking them back. They're not sending their best. So when you send them back, they go, whoa, we got rid of that motherfucker. Well, you're getting him back. You're getting his ass back. What we ought to do is start taking some of our crazy American citizens and dropping them off there. Take a fucking plane load of them over there and go, here you go. Since you want us to keep your fucking crazy motherfuckers, here's a bunch of ours. And you're taking your people back. So now you got extra crazies. You keep on, we're gonna send more of them. We'll start parachuting them into your country. What are you gonna do? You ain't gonna do a damn thing. That's what we're gonna do if the tariffs don't work. Your ass, we're dropping them in by parachute, lunatics from our prisons. We're gonna empty our prisons into your country. I don't really care, Margaret. He was radicalized. Look at this. I'm crying. All these illegals. You're going home. Oh, eggs went down 10 cents. I noticed. They were $4.29 last week. Now they're four. I shit you not. The last week of Biden's presidency, they were $4.29. The first weeks of Trump's, they went down to $4.19. $4.19 a dozen. I predict they'll go back down under $4 very soon. So next time some faggot tells you the prices ain't dropping, I've seen it with my own eyes. Seen it with my own fucking eyes. Oh, the people of Philadelphia out of their minds. They'll be eating dog shit and stuff. They're saying Alex Jones was cloned. Yeah, there he is, Dr. Phil out there.
This is under where they go, who picks them up. This is who
Dr.
picks them
Phil in
up. This is who
Chicago with
lures them
Holman.
out on the internet, and they disappear, or they get raped, and their lives change forever. And he shouldn't even be here, but he's doing this. but they don't raise their hand and say, hey, there's somebody that doesn't even have the right to be here that's preying upon our children, and they don't tell you about it.
Exactly. And this governor, Governor Pritzker, and the mayor, they want to vilify the men and women of ICE. ICE saved children today. ICE saved children today. And it makes me angry. Governor Pritzker the other day went on the internet, social media, saying ICE was attacking our elementary school. He's scaring children. He's scaring the neighborhood, putting fear in the community. We're doing the exact opposite. We're saving children. Every sexual predator we arrest means more safe children. So God bless the men and women of ICE. If you've seen today, we're not sweeping neighborhoods. This is a target enforcement operation. We spend a lot of time investigating these people. We know exactly who we're looking for. So it's a target enforcement operation. It's the right thing to do.
Well, let's talk about how methodical this was, because you guys had this man, this monster, on the list, and they've been sitting on this guy for 2 or 3 days to try to get where he was and his pattern, and you were actually able to ping his cell phone and get him on the move so he could be picked up on the street rather than if he got to his dwelling, wherever
Bro, they
that
can
is, and
ping
got
your
behind a
phone
closed door, then he could have
and
sat
figure out where
there,
you're at.
and you didn't have the right to go in and get
They
him
pinged his
if
phone.
he sits behind that door, right?
Not without a criminal arrest warrant, but that's exactly the point. He could have been arrested at a county jail in the safety and security of county jail by one officer.
Right.
But we spent hundreds of hours to investigate him, try to find out where he is, and we did find him. It takes a whole team for officer safety reasons to arrest him. Right. It's not efficient. We could arrest many more criminals if you let us in the jail. It's just a lot harder to find these guys out in the public. These guys don't want to be found. They're in the wind. It takes a lot of investigative work to find them. Let us in the jail. Don't let them hit the street. It saves officers time. It's safer for the community.
They won't
It's
let them
safer
go
for
in
the
there and
family. It's
deport
safer for
people
the
that are
officers.
literally in
But we're
jail.
spending hundreds
They're
of
sitting
hours
in
of
a jail.
investigation to find this guy when we could have got him in
And
5
liberals are
minutes
like,
if we put him
nah,
in jail.
you
Okay,
can't do that.
tell me,
You can't deport.
tell
You
me,
can't go in that jail and get that guy and take him out of here and send him home. Like, what? What's wrong with people? They've lost their damn minds. I mean, it's insane. It's really insane. Because when you turn on, you listen to the liberals and they ask these questions, and it's like, are you going to go into school and get children? Are you going to go get someone's grandmother? Or da, 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 da. And then when you go over and like watch this guy talking with Dr. Phil, he's like, we got to get in them jails. You know, that's what we need to do. Really, it would be more fair if we could get inside the jails and get there. That's what he's talking about, going in jails and getting people. Now, you're not even talking about going to a school and getting nobody. Trump just took the gloves off. It's just like, you can go anywhere. Just get these people. Get them out of here. I tell you what, if he wouldn't have done that, these lunatic liberals would have them in them damn schools, hiding them in there. That's what they'd be doing. They'd have the gang members in the jails. They lost their minds. People lost their damn minds. They caught some pedophile. Here he is.
What's your name?
Seda. Seda what? You have a first and last name. Sam. Seda Sam? Yes.
Where are you from?
Where I was born or where I'm from?
Where are you born?
Thailand.
You've been deported before from the United States?
No.
Never been deported?
But I've been in the system before. B&B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you been charged with
Charged where?
before?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna talk to my lawyer.
Yeah. Are you a citizen?
My mom's a citizen.
Your mother's a citizen?
Yes.
But you're not?
Nope.
But you've never been deported before?
You Dr. Phil. You look like Dr. Phil.
Yeah? How do you know me?
No, I seen Dr. Phil, on TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Imagine you're in the country, you've like raped children and shit. You're here illegally, they catch you, and you go outside and fucking Dr. Phil is out there. Dr. Phil is out there interviewing you. Dr. Phil's like, hey, mind asking a couple of questions. Like, what the fuck? And fucking Tom Holman's there too. You seen him? They know who he is. They seen him on TV talking shit. They were probably like, that motherfucker ain't getting none of us. He ain't getting none of us. There he is. He personally gets a hold of your ass. You're like, God damn, this motherfucker came right to my house, got me, and brought Dr. Phil. Like, they're punking these illegals, man. This is insane. They're punking these fucking illegals. They got them on. I mean, this is the second video I've seen this week where they're just punking one of them. They got the other guy was like screaming out of the car, "I'm not going back!" And the guy was like, "He's going back." And now you got this crazy shit where they got Dr. Phil, and you know Trump set this up. You know he had Dr. Phil. Like liberals can't. That's what I'm saying. They can't react. There's just too much shit. There's too much going on. You got Dr. Phil's out there catching them. It's fucking Colombia's starting shit, and then they get slapped around. There's like 200 executive orders. They ain't even got time to look at all of them. They don't even know what to get mad about. They want to get mad about that gender stuff, but they know if they do, they look retarded. And they're trying to pretend like they're not in that. They're trying to pretend like everybody's crazy for even talking about that gender stuff. They're trying to turn it around on you. Oh, why are y'all even talking about that? Nobody thinks there's more than two gender. And then you're like, well, how many are there? Harry's like, there's at least two. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? We got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children, and he's walking the streets of Chicago. Again, the downfall, the problem with the sanctuary city, that people like us walking the street rather than local law enforcement working with federal agents. This is what we're dealing with.
Yeah. You've been charged with sex crimes with children?
Not really.
Not really?
What the
And never been deported?
Nope.
Oh, the liberals already turned on Phil. He was at the Trump
Let's
rally
take him in
telling you to
process
vote
and
for
lock him
Trump.
up.
They done with him.
All right. Is it transport vehicle? Working on it. Okay.
They turned on Dr. Phil a long time ago, long before Trump. Why they turned on him? Because he was telling them they're retarded. And they didn't like that, you see. So then Dr. Phil became a bad person. He's not even really a doctor, you know? He's not even really a doctor. Well, he is in my book. He is in my heart. I'm gonna call him Dr. Phil. Go fuck yourself. You don't get to change it. Have you ever had a talk show giving advice? I watched it. He was always right when I watched it. Anything he said made sense to me. It made a lot more sense than you did, dumb fucking liberal. Made a lot more sense. I mean, he's punking these guys. Sit Dr. Phil to pick his ass up. The average penis size is increasing. Look at this. With experts predicting even more changes for male reproductive anatomy in the future, advancements like stronger sperm, dem, automated implants, built-in contraceptive could soon become reality as demand grows, driven by trends or societal pressures. We're close to genetically modifying the body for a preference rather than survival. A biological professor says this. Study found the average erect penis length grew 25% in 30 years, rising from 4.8 inches in 1992 to 6 inches in 2021. The dicks are getting bigger. Cocks are getting bigger. There's some guy listening to this going, I'm a 3 inch. What the? You're not average. You're below average. He was below average in 92, too. Sad. There's hope for the future, though. Trump wins and dicks start growing. Crazy. Will RFK get in? Will he get in there and wreak havoc? What? Oh, God.
I got no space in my car is small.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe me. So, I'm sorry.
What am I doing with my money?
I'm gonna cancel you. You're not gonna be charged.
So you telling me I can't get in the lift because I can't fit in your car?
Yeah, you need to order a bigger car.
What makes you think I can't fit in a car?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What makes you think I can't fit in this car?
Because the car is small in the back.
My best friend has a Biz that's newer than this that I can fit in. That's the same size.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't.
So you really telling me I'm too big to get in your car? So I gotta order another lift.
Yeah. And to be more specific with you, I got very tired tires.
What I got to do with your tires?
Yeah, and you have no space.
How you know I don't have no space?
Yeah, I got no space in the back.
How do you know
Bitch,
I
you
don't
too
have no
big to
space?
be in the backseat of this car.
Because I tried before.
Huh?
Because I've been in this situation.
So every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL instead.
No, I don't never have to order an Uber XL.
You need an Uber XL.
What's your name?
Abraham Private.
Okay. Nope.
I mean, that car can't handle that. It's pretty low to the ground as it is. Look at the size of this woman. Ain't no damn way. How you even get that big? What is going on? Bitch ate everything. He said it ain't happening.
Not to be on my car, though. Get off my car. Hold on, man. How you doing?
I'm okay.
You was touching my car.
Did I hurt it?
No, you didn't hurt it. I was just wondering why you was...
Because I can't walk right.
Oh, I'm sorry about it. It's not a problem, but you did touch my car.
I'm still touching it.
Oh.
But I'll stop.
No, you good. Damn.
Still touching it.
That's crazy.
He really pulled his phone out, filming that old lady trying to walk and shit. You know they ruining his life. He fucked up. Be hearing about that for a while. People in his DM calling him the N-word and shit.
She said during that town hall she believes they've handled the border correctly. CNN pressed her on it. Would you have done anything different? Do you regret anything? And she said, quote, I think we did the right thing.
Wait a minute, that she's handling it correctly?
Correct.
She said that?
She said that. She said, quote, I think we did the right thing.
We allowed 21 million people in. We allowed 13,099 murderers. We allowed mental institutions from all over the world. If she said that, look, she's a grossly incompetent person. And if she said that, they had the worst border in history.
She said during that town hall she believes they've handled the border correctly. CNN pressed her on it. Would you have done anything different? Do you regret anything?
Man, it's over. God, I wish I had that. Let's hate a wedge. Mexican cartels are reportedly prepared to target U.S. planes returning illegal migrants. Is it time for the U.S. military to take on the cartels? I think that'd be a bad idea to attack military planes. You're supposed to do that. They're saying they're going to send the Haitians back, and he says it would be catastrophic for his country. What's going to tell you about the people they sent here? He said, my God, no. He saw that guy screaming out of that van. I'm not going back. And he was like, oh, shit, not that guy. Oh, I thought we got rid of that guy. Oh, no. You're going to have to open the prisons back up. You're going to have to put them back in them prisons. They're coming home. It's like a big family reunion. They're coming home. You heard they're bringing Vine back. Oh, he gave Israel all their weapons and shit that they paid for. Apparently, Israel bought some bombs, and Biden was just like, nah. And Israel wants some bombs. Trump said, here you go, take them. He and Malcolm's probably fuming somewhere. Oh my God. They're all going back now. They blew their house up and told them to go on home. This is rebel. Hell, they'll probably have Gaza rebuilt before they have fucking California.
Our country was on the verge of some of the very bad things, and bad things were happening. And now there's light not only over America. I've heard it from even our enemies. They call up and they say, sir, we hate you. We do hate you, but there's light over the world right now. They hate me. Some of them hate me. If they liked me, you got a problem, right? They like Sleepy Joe. What's not to like? You know, they'd call up. It's funny. I was told today by one of the big leaders of the world, would call for a telephone call with the President of the United States a year ago. And they'd say, we'd like to speak with, who is this? It's the head of Germany, the head of, it's, name it, the head of France, the name of any country, it didn't matter. he would never pick up the call. They'd say, he'll call you back in 2 months. 2 months. He has his schedule. He's extremely busy sleeping. You know, Macron of France, he'll call you back in 2 months. So 2 months comes along and there's no call. They say, he didn't call.
Good call.
Stories are, I mean, these stories are not very exaggerated. I want to tell you, they're a little bit for laughter, but you know, it's only for laughter. The fake news will say, oh, he exaggerated. It was only 1 month, you know.
It's all true. He
But,
wasn't there.
but he would say he'd call you back, and then he'd never
Was
call, and then
asleep.
they could never get him on the phone. And the problem I have is that when I speak to and I speak to them immediately, they'll say, could we speak to the president? Would that be possible? We could do it anytime over the next month. They're so used to this, right? I say, no, I'll pick it up right now. Is he on the phone? Yeah, hello, how you doing? That's what, you know, get it over with, right? Get it over with. The only problem, they were so starved for love from the United States, I cannot get them off the phone. I can't get people, if you can't, I say, I have to go now, King, or I have to go now, President. But you can't get them off the phone. They're starved for love. You know, for years they haven't spoken. They didn't even know we had a president, if you want to know. But under our leadership, America is back open. Our country was on the verge of some of the very bad.
I don't even see Doug. He's cowering under a table somewhere. Send him over there too. Send him home. Well, I gotta clean some stuff before I go to bed, so I'm getting off early tonight. Might be here tomorrow, I'm not sure, but if not, I'll be here Wednesday.